Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. Today, on Conversation with Calvin, We the Species, we really have the privilege of spending some time with a remarkable soul, Abby Grace. She's a singer, songwriter. She's lived her life with a guitar in her hands and joy in her voice and generosity in her spirit. Just quite an amazing person. And I've had the luxury these past few days to listen to lots of her music, which I'm just going to kind of hold up. I just listened to this last night, the whole album, Boots, Beer, and Blues. It's on your website, and the website, will be up there. Even now, um, and she's in hospice care, as you can kind of tell. She continues to shine in the same warmth and humor and the musical magic, because this stuff is the musical magic I just loved. And I have strange musical taste, and I just loved. And I'm not saying it because you were all here. I just love listening to it. So this conversation is not only, and this is important. It's not only about music. It's about courage, creativity, resilience, a wonderful word, resilience, and the beautiful way Abby continues to share her light. And that's important with the world. So it really is an honor. And also joining us is Jesse Rhodes from Deer City Records, her manager, producer, who's going to be handling her music. So between Abby and Jesse, this is a huge thrill for me. And by the way, I got to tell you something. I'm giving up watching the New York Football Giants right now to be with you guys. So that is huge.
Awesome.
I've given up football to be with you guys. And I don't do that. And my wife could attest to it. When my son got married 10 years ago, true story. When my son got married, they were planning the date. My son and daughter, they planned a date. They wanted to get married October, like 17th or something. And I said, wait a second, I got to check something. And I came into the room here. This is what football is to me. I came in here to the room, and the date they wanted to get married was Rutgers plays Ohio State in football. So I had to find a way to be very judicious, and I had to present this in the right kind of way because it's my son getting married, and here I am. So I said to him, that's a bad day for me. How about if you get married the week before, the week after? I don't want to get into it now, but okay, Dad, sure. And why? Because it was a football game. So be it. Anyway, this monologue is now completed. And I want to introduce Jesse first to say a few words. And by the way, I love your name. I said this before we went on air, Jesse Rhodes, and we're with Abby. So you put the two together, we got Abby Rhodes, and you're a music guy, so it couldn't be better. So say a few words, Jesse, a little background, and then I'll bring on Abby.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Calvin. And yeah, it's been an awesome journey. I also had the just by chance connection with Abby. We had a referral over Facebook for some recording to be done, and she needed some vocal tracks, and that's how it all kind of started. It just, was very by chance. And I told her, well, come check out the studio, come hang out, and if it's a fit, you'll know. And away we go. And since then, Abby's been one of my most consistent clients, and we've done what feels like hundreds of songs together. I don't know if it's actually quite that many, but it's got to be pretty close. Whether it's uploading and taking care of the distribution side of her music and putting it into the now. The person that actually produced the actual music behind most of it is a guy out of BC named Mark Atkinson, and he's an incredible producer as well. And we were fortunate enough to have him producing the tunes, and Abby would come in, we would track the vocals and send it back and forth, and it was a really cool time. And yeah, so I've been working with Abby for a couple years now, and she's become family, and it's really quite amazing how that works. I've been in the music industry for almost 30 years now myself. which dates me pretty crazy because I'm 44 years old now. And I started quite young and, took
Yeah.
the leap and just jumped literally right into touring and recording and living out in a van and just being on the road for years and years and years. And in some extent, even though I do have a comfortable house and a nice family and everything, I'm still out there just crazily going. And so yeah, it's been good. I'm a performer, I'm a producer, I write, I work on the business side of things quite extensively in music, comedy, a little bit of everything. And so it's awesome. And when someone like Abby kind of comes in and disrupts the day-to-day stuff in a good way, that's how they say things make waves or actually become something, is you need a disruptor in the marketplace. And so Abby kind of came in and just put a different spot in my world that wasn't there. And so it's been really phenomenal to get to experience that and see the journey that she's on. And even in this last couple years of knowing her, for her to become family and to build the relationship that we have. And it's really quite amazing to watch her go and do her thing and just put out the music and write. She's a songwriting factory. Um, which is incredible in itself. And it's just been a lot of fun, and seeing Abby with her current situation in life and just seeing the bravery and the courage that she's got. And you mentioned the resilience, and it never ceases to amaze me, her ability to just keep going and keep thinking about the music and keep putting it out there with a smile and with the ambition that she has, even while in hospice, outweighs most people's ambition throughout, their peak performance timelines. And so it's really inspiring, and I'm really thankful to be a part of that journey. So
Thank you. Thank you. And Abby, some words from you, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, some background, and take it away.
Well, wow, what a journey. That's all I can say. And uh, probably my most used line is nothing happened because of me. It almost seems it was in spite of me. And when I learn to get out of the way, magic shows up. So I started later in life. I was, I don't know, about 54, 55, middle 50s anyway. In 2013 is kind of when it all started, and I've just been following these little music notes that keep showing up, and doors just keep opening everywhere. And so I'm just loving up my big toe and taking my big toe and stepping through the doorways and seeing what's there, and magic keeps happening. So I guess I'm supposed to be keep doing this.
Great. But I like that big toe thing. That's almost a song that needs to be
Well,
written.
there you go. There you go. Well, I had a t-shirt that said every journey begins with your big toe. Love your big toe.
Correct. And by the way, that's exactly right. That comes from Confucius.
Oh,
Confucius said
does
every, yes, it does. Confucius said
it?
every journey begins with the first step. You took it to a higher plane. Every journey begins with your big toe. Same thing. So there you are on the same level with Confucius. So that's pretty impressive.
Well, you're there yourself actually, because when I purchased your book, the first thing I noticed was your big toe
Ah.
above the or
By
right
the way,
below.
you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Because that is my big toe on the cover of my book, wrapped around a sneaker.
Right?
Yes, correct. It's
The
funny. I'm spiritual, so I went to this favorite place of mine in Belmar, New Jersey, along the Jersey Shore, where Springsteen used to hang out. All those places, and I there's a little jetty that butts up against the ocean, and you sit on that jetty and you look at the big wide Atlantic Ocean, and it's very moving and spiritual. So one day, 15 years ago, I went for my once a year meditation, and I'm sitting on the jetty, and it's off season, so there's nobody there, and I'm alone, and my feet are stretched out, and I'm looking at my big sneaker. I'm 6'5", so I have a big sneaker, uh,
Okay.
and and uh, uh, and I'm saying to myself, "Wow, what a great picture! My sneaker against the rocks, and against the blue sky, and against the ocean." So I took that picture, and that was a bunch of years ago. And then, as I'm finishing writing my tortoise novel, I'm saying to myself, "What am I going to do for a cover? You know, I'm self-published, and I got to do this myself. How can I come up with a cover?" And then, out of the random universe, I remember taking that crazy picture. And I said, that's got to be the cover, my big toe. And there
Right.
you go. So um, let's plunge into some questions to learn about you and your journey. I know the answer to my question if I had asked me this, and it would be Peter, Paul, and Mary. But you're different. So what music influences, Abby, did you grow up with?
Well, a little bit of everything is what I can say. My dad would leave at 7 in the morning for work. My brother would get home from night shift and play Jimi Hendrix. And then he'd go to bed at 8 o'clock. My sister would get up and play the Beatles and Peter, Paul, and Mary and Joan Baez. And then I'd come home after school and mom would be playing Charlie Pride and all the good old country ones, right? And then dad would come back home at 5 o'clock and there was no music. He didn't like music. The only person I've ever met in my life that didn't like music. But
Wow. Wow.
I know, right? It's like, how can you not like music? So I had the whole gamut growing up. So those are kind of my influences, the
Okay.
Beatles, and a little bit
Okay.
of everybody,
A little bit of
actually.
everybody, which makes perfect sense. Um, so how did you start writing? And I always love to ask this, what is your process? Everybody has such a unique process.
Definitely. So of course, it started with a split up. When my partner and I split up, I went and rented a cabin for a few months and just thought, this is in 2013, and just thought, yeah, well, I used to write poetry when I was a kid a lot. So I started writing poetry, and then this song contest came up uh, on Facebook, and I went, oh, I should write a song if I'm going to write poetry, right? So I wrote a song, and it was called "Want to Change the World." So that CD is actually song, "Want to Change the World," is the first song I ever officially wrote as a song.
Wow. Wow.
Most of my earlier stuff were all kind of poemy things that I just changed into songs. But and the process is there's just a line that'll catch me, like "Love Your Big Toe," right? So I'll put that on my phone, and then when I'm inspired to write, I just listen to all my little hooky catches that I have recorded, and one will pop out at me. And it's like I download, like I write. Rarely do I spend more than an hour or 2 hours on a song. It
Wow.
just comes, like it just flows out of me. And I'm like, I don't know how or why or what, but it just does. And the tune comes with it as the words come out.
Wow.
And it's
Hey,
just like I'll go back to the song and I'll take tweak it and just take out all the ands and buts and what the words, extra words you don't need and stuff, and tweak it up like that. But rarely do I change anything else after I've written a song. Like I don't know whether who's doing it, but it feels like I just download them.
which is amazing, because you know what? It's a natural gift, and you have it. And I always listen. I listen to music, all day long, and I'm saying to myself, gee, I'd love to write a song. Never, because it's not there. It's not there. So you have this amazing gift. Like I said, I spent last night uh, with Boots, Beers, and Blues, and I just love it. It was It was moody. It was emotional. It was honest. It was clear. It was uplifting, engaging. I have all these wonderful words. I'm a writer. It's just, and I'm pretty particular, by the way, with musical stuff. I'm very, very particular. So thoroughly enjoyable. I know the answer to this because I've seen a million pictures with you. Do you play an instrument, and how did you get started with that? And I saw you holding that instrument, and I think I sent a note to you on the body of the instrument. I don't even know what that really was. I guess it was but there's the thing. RCA had that Victrola thing,
Yep, yep,
so that made me feel real at home because I grew up with that image, the Victrola, the little dog, and and the gramophone there, whatever it was.
yep.
So, how did you start playing?
Uh, well, basically, I was walking around doing a cappella when I wrote that song, Want to Change the World. It turned out that you had to go and perform it in front of people. So I needed something to accompany myself because I didn't play anything. And I tried to learn guitar for years, and it's just my fingers just don't want to work that way. So, and a piano's too heavy to carry around. So I saw somebody playing one of these little skirt boxes, and I'm like, hey, I bet you I could do that. So I had a friend that was a carpenter, so I called him up and said, "Hey, can we make this?" So he's come on over, and so we sat and YouTubed and Googled, and we ended up making two or three of them, and
Well,
that's how. And just I play it very basically. I only do bar notes, and I'm great at giving a pocket. I can hold the pocket and just hold the space for all everybody else to throw their sprinkles in, and that's fine with me. I'm just a basic simple player, and I like it that way, and I allow everybody else to sparkle around.
that's great. That's great.
So but
Um,
that sure opened a lot of doors for me, let me tell you.
I mean, you're prolific. There's just so many things to take in on your website. It's like a musical journey, and again, for me to have spent time like that, I'll be honest, I'm just really, really particular with the stuff I listen to. Part of it, I guess, is my age. I guess, I know my parents, when this guy Elvis Presley came along, they stopped listening to music. So it's kind of a rite of passage kind of thing. But I thoroughly, totally enjoyed listening to your words and your music. And that's a testament. And I'm not just saying it because you're sitting there, but thoroughly enjoyable. Do you have specific intentions with your music? Um,
Well, one is like Emmylou Harris said, we need to put the living room back in the music. So I want, when you're listening to my music, I would like you to feel like you're sitting in a living room listening to somebody play and join in the singing, and it's to spread joy. My intention is to spread joy and inspiration in the world. We have enough of the other stuff. We don't have enough of that stuff.
Correct. Correct.
So
Nice.
yeah, so that's kind of the intention behind it.
Nice. Nice. Um, if anything was possible, what would you be doing right now with your music?
That's such an interesting question. And I have about 500 answers for it, but I would be on the road. I mean, that was always uh, a dream, was to be on the road with it. And I always wanted to do a northern tour of Canada. I wanted to go to every legion in northern Canada because the north doesn't get a lot of music. Like a lot of bands and stuff go up there, right? You'll get the bands in the big cities and stuff like that, but they don't get a lot of music up there. So I would love to have done and I'm not done yet. But I would love to do a northern tour of Canada in the fall when all the colors are turning at all the legions across Canada.
Nice. Nice, nice. You know, that's probably one of the most untalked about mysterious places on Earth, northern Canada. I mean,
Right.
and it's funny in Tortoise. At some point, I talk about I write about my character just wanting to be remote. He just
Yeah.
needed to get away from everything, and he wanted to be remote. So he goes to Hudson's Bay, and he gets a little
Sure.
cabin, and he eats fish all day long, and that's what he does to run away from things. Northern Canada. So that's a really interesting uh, thought that you had, not too different from some of the thinking I do, because it's so remote. And you're right, the people up there, they're just so out of, the mainstream.
Yeah.
Interesting thought. Yeah. Um, you believe that music can bring peace to the world. You just said that, which is central to who you are, bringing peace to the world. Does that vision come from any particular place, or it's just part of who you are?
I think it's probably both. I think it's just, I really like the greatest moments in my life are when I'm sitting there singing and people are sitting there singing with me. The greatest moments are watching their face light up, how they get up and move their body in beautiful ways to the beat. And you just look, you see the joy. It just brings joy. And if we could just all sing together, like, and just you see that you see so many instances of just, right down to the busker on the street and, the little girl that stops to listen to the busker and just she's filled with joy right away and dancing, right? It's just, and then you look at the tribal roots and how so much of their was around drumming and creating a music around everything, creating a beat around everything that everybody gets that. It's a primal level. It's a universal language, right?
You just said, busker on the street, and I was watching not too long ago an introspective interview with Paul Simon, and he talks about writing what I think is one of his greatest songs, a Kathy song, and it
Oh,
talks about when he was in England and he was a busker on the street, and he met this girl Kathy, and that was the piece of energy. He said, "I was a busker. He was a busker, and she was walking around with a hat collecting money for him." And they began a relationship, and he wrote one of the most beautiful songs I think ever. Kathy
right.
song. So that's funny that you said that, and it kind of resonated with me. Um, so you chose, because you just said it a few moments ago, you chose to follow your musical passion later in life. Um, what was the turning point in 2013 when you said, "I'm doing this"?
Okay. This is where the in spite of me comes in. So it's a bit of a story. If is it okay if I just it might be about 5 minutes long?
Hey, you just absolutely go ahead.
Oh, so I was living in British Columbia. I'd driven back to Ontario to see my sister and my family. And the night before I was leaving, I thought I should go back home through the States. And my sister said, "Oh, yeah, well, I just did the trip down there and whatever." And she brought up Nashville. And I said, "Oh, maybe I should go through the States and I can stop in Nashville. It's not that far out of the way." So, this was in 2014 in the fall. And so this was a year after. So I'd only been doing this for a year, right? Just plunking away and writing some songs and doing few little open mics type of thing and just having a little bit of fun with it. I was brand spanking new. So anyway, so I go across the border the next morning and she says, "Pull it over." So I'm like, "Well, okay." So I go pull it over and this big bodyguard comes over and or border security guard, right? And he's like, what are you doing? So I explained, I'm going to Nashville. I'll probably stay a week, and then I'm heading back to BC and home. And he's like, and he asked me 3 or 4 times, and I answer him 3 or 4 times. And finally, he's like, I know why you're going to Nashville. And I'm like, well, I told you 3 times. So finally, he says, you're going to make a record. And I started laughing, right? I'm like, you just don't go to Nashville and make a record. Now, come on, people. you know, and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure you're going to make a record. And I'm like, no, no. I said, why don't I just get my little guitar out for you and I'll play for you and you'll know I'm not going to make a record. It's just a hobby I started a year ago, right? So he made me wait 2 hours while I don't know what he did because I figured my van would be trashed, but it wasn't. So I went back and he finally let me go. So I'm driving along going, imagine that guy thinking you just go to Nashville and make a record. Ha ha ha. And promptly forgot about it. Got to Nashville, rented a room off of a group called Love Drums where and he said, if you get here, I have a room, but you got to come and eat, come within an hour because I'm going to a festival up in the Tennessee Hills. And I have my van and I had a bed in it. So I'm like, what festival? Can I go? So I ended up meeting them up at this festival. It was just a little organic farm that put on this. They had 2 stages and about 10 vendors. So the tie-dye vendor guy said, hey, I love your guitar. Come and play some songs for me, right? So I went over, played some. There's a girl watching me, really funny, and I'm just not saying nothing and doing it. This older lady walks by. She said, hi, what's going on here? I'm a reporter from the Macon County Times. What's going on here? And that girl that was hanging back watching me steps up and says, this is a lady from Canada, and she's come to Nashville to make a children's record. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm looking around for the border guy. I figure he's setting me up for something here. Because it was only 2 days ago I passed the border, and I'm like, what are these people talking about? I'm not making a record down here. So that ended up in the newspaper. I opened it up 2 days later, and then there I am, Canadian woman comes to Nashville to make children's record.
Wow. Wow.
Like, I'm like, oh my God, I hope that guy doesn't read that newspaper.
Wow.
So I end up going to this honky tonk open mic that says everything welcome in Nashville. So I do a couple of songs, and then the guy who's hosting it invites me to his band's playing the next night, so he invites me to come down and hear him out and whatever. So I go down the next night, and intermission comes, and the guy Jimmy goes, "Hey, Abby," says, "come on up with the band and play some of your music." And I'm like, hell no, the band, like his band was out of this world. Like they were so good. Oh my God. And I'd never played with the band before. So he's like, no, they're all, come on, come on. We're not leaving till you get up here. So I ended up getting up with the band and playing a couple of songs and then sitting with them after. And it was magic. I kept forgetting everything because I'd never heard my songs played with a band before. So it was crazy. So I decided to stay for another week. So one of the people where I was renting the room, I was looking for a dobro player. So the next week I go to the open mic and I asked Jimmy, I said, do you know the guy who runs the open mic? Do you know a dobro player? So he gives me the name and number. So I phone up the guy and said, hi, my name's Abby and I got your number from Jimmy and I'm looking for a dobro player. And he's like, oh, Abby with the cigar box guitar? And I'm like, what? Like, who in Nashville knows me? Like, what's going on here? And he's like, and he said it's Brojo, the keyboard player from Jimmy's band. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it was very nice to meet you the other night and whatever. And he said, I love your songs, Abby. Do you want to record them?
Wow. Wow.
And I'm like, where's that border guard? I know he's setting me up here somewhere, right? And that's how it all started.
Wow. So that's a whole fascinating story. There's a lot of elements, spiritual stuff, magical stuff.
Right?
Yeah, there's things beyond, our realm. How you got started like that. It's a great story. Um, I'm going to read some of your albums here. Abby's Amblings, Senses of the Sea, Want to Change the World, Remember Your Friends, Living Here on Earth, I'm Too Much. If you look at the arc of your music, what story does it tell about your evolution as an artist? These things.
Well, I would have to say, so Abby's Amblings was my first one, and that was done with Rojo down in Nashville. And literally, like this guy plays everything. So I literally just went into the studio, laid down my tracks, and he plays everything else. And he filled it all in and mix and mastered it. So that was my first CD. So he sent it up to, so I needed to have it manufactured when I got home in BC. So he sent it up to friends of mine who were called the Hermits Music. They had started a little recording studio, but realized musicians don't have money. So they just made it into a collaboration where we just all played on each other's CDs and stuff like that. So they did manufacturing, so I had them manufacture it. And I went to pick it up, and Paul said, "Whoa, this is awesome. And what are you doing now?" And I said, "I don't know. I wasn't doing anything then." Right. And he's like, "Do you have more songs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I probably got about 50, 60 more songs." And he's like, "Do you have any with the theme?" And I said, "Yeah, I have some that I wrote about my sailing experiences. I'm a sailor." So he said, "Bring them on over." And boof, Senses of the Sea happened.
Wow. Wow.
That kind of has, I know, right? So it kind of has like a Irish Rovers kind of flair to it, right? And so then he's like, "Well, now what are you doing?" Right? And I'm like, "I don't know. I wasn't doing anything back then either." Right? So he's like, "Well, how about we do a singer-songwriter one?" And, so I thought, well, if we're going to do a singer-songwriter, it's got to do Want to Change the World because it was the first song I ever wrote. So that all happened. And then Remember Your Friends was kind of an extension of that, just kind of folk, uh, singer-songwriter vibe about it. And then COVID hit, and a lot of people closed their doors. And my producer was one. They just closed their doors and they went to their room and stayed there. So I still had a couple of songs that I needed vocals recorded on. So uh, Mark Atkinson is a producer on Hornby Island. He has the Mark Atkinson Trio, and he also plays in a bluegrass band called the Bills. None of which I really knew about this guy. He had done laid down a couple of tracks for us, and my little band had gone over to his studio and did a off the floor recording with him. So I called him to see if his door was open to recording some vocals, and he said, "Sure, come on over." So went over with some tracks and stuff, and we were having trouble lining the tracks up and whatever. And finally, he just turned around and he said, "Abby," he said, "if you want me to do your songs for you, I play everything if you want me to do your songs for you." And I'm like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Sure, okay." I like, "What does that look like?" Right. And he said, "Well, if you have a song, let's start one right now." So we sat down, and man, so I recorded the little song, and he pulls back the curtain and there's a full drum set, and then he, drags out the stand-up bass, and and then he's got the whole slew of stringed instruments. Like his mandolin playing is out of this world. And I'm just sitting there, just my mouth is open. I've never heard somebody play so good. Just like I'm like, "Well, what is going on here? Like, who is this guy?" At one point when he was laying down the keys, he looked over at me and he went, "Do you not like this? Is this okay?" Or And I just looked at him and I went, you're insanely good, right? Like you do know that, right? And he just kind of laughed and whatever. But let me tell you, I went home and did my homework to see who this guy was. And like he's been nominated for Junos and like played for the Queen.
Wow.
And I'm like, how did I end up with this? How did little old folky me end up with Mark Atkinson doing my songs? So the Living Here on Earth and I'm Too Much, everything else forward, all those are all Mark Atkinson. And
Wow.
I literally do the same thing as I did with the very verse producer, right? Is I lay down my track, I send it to him, and he just fills everything in.
Okay.
So I've had so that's kind of my third producer, and now I'm taking the step forward into my fourth producer. So my first and third producers were the ones that I just send my song into and they filled it all in. And then but my second and now fourth producer will be ones that I actually help track and like help build the song, part of the process of building it more. So
Okay.
that's the little journey.
Yeah.
That's the little journey of musical
Yeah.
notes, how it happened.
Just great. That's just great. Which is a good segue into this next question. Listening to you and being with you for the last hour and a half and absorbing, that word resilience just keeps on surfacing in my senses. Uh, um, so you've turned challenges again and again uh, into creativity. Uh, so where does that resilience live inside you? Because you're filled with resilience. Great word.
That is a great word and a great question. Where am I filled? It's just in my belief, I guess, my belief in humankind that we can do this. I've seen too many miracles not to believe in them.
Okay.
I think that would be
I like
I've
that.
I've seen too many not to believe in them.
I like that a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm writing that down.
You write the book,
Wow.
I'll song.
I'm actually writing that down. I may be the only interviewer in American or Canadian history to take notes during an interview. I've seen too many miracles not to believe in them. Wow, that's I'm going to use that quote of you because I just filled the whole thing in. I wrote that. That is just wow. Do I love that? I've seen
Oh,
too many miracles not to believe in them. Wow. That is everything. And thank you for that. That is just, for me, a spiritual guy, that's wonderful, Abby. Wow.
thank
Um,
you.
uh, uh, and I'm going to give you credit for it. I'll never take credit for this, but that's just great. There's a ton of stuff here, but just to kind of wind down, um, I like this. Your EP, Remember Your Friends, is a tribute to the friendships you've had in your life. Um, who are the people who carried you and encouraged you and believed in you as we wind down?
Well, every single one of my producers have been absolutely amazing, like absolutely amazing. And just there's like way too many people to thank. Like the music of the family that I've grown over the years for the music, like they're my heart and soul. They're just there's so many. I mean, like I say, all my producers were have kept me going. Shall we say? It's like I look at them and the caliber of music that they do, and I'm like, if they believe in me, there's no reason for me not to believe in me. So away you go, and I've always taken that as, you know, that's kind of every time I get down or whatever, it's like, wait a minute, they believe in me, and then, just, I liked. I know I get speeches when I talk about stuff like this, but my girlfriends, my man friends, I've had I've had the jealousy thing go on and people just jealous and try and create some drama and stuff like that. But I will say that stuff has all been so minimal in my life. But I make a big point is I have one rule, and the rule is if it ain't fun, don't do it. If you're not having fun making my music, please don't do it because I hear fun in the music. When I can hear it, when the people are enjoying making their music, I can hear it in there. And I believe that's the key to success is to keep the fun in the music too, along with the living room.
Just by the way, this has been one of my favorite words that I don't use enough. This time with you all have been sumptuous. This has been a wonderful experience for me. And the fact that I've taken notes and that thing about miracles, which is going to be with me forever. It's
Oh,
yeah, it will actually it's like a new thing for me to believe in, what you just said. And the time with you, and you kind of tell us that music is it's not a performance. It's part of a shared moment, and you're so human, and your emotions and your resilience, and I'm so glad for this connection that we met because it fills my glass, so to speak. It does. No, it really does. And I'm just grateful to the universe how these things take place because I think it's a grand design, and I try to write about that and express it. Every connection I have is a grand design, and there's a reason for that. And the fact that Jesse, you said you're 44. Well, 44 is such a big part of my life, so that's huge. That's why I wrote a book. It took 5 years of my life talking about 44, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. And we can talk about that off camera. It's a big portion of my life. So all of this is for, a grand reason that often we here on Earth don't get a chance to understand it at this point because, we're generally speaking, we're too busy to watching TikTok
Right.
and stuff, and not realizing basic things. And I don't want to be too heavy, but I'm so grateful for your being here, your presence, your bravery, your resilience, your music, and I'm going to have that music, and I'm going to actually discover and rediscover your music because I like it, and so.
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate. I do want to give a shout out to Caden Gordon
Sure.
because that's how I found you.
Forgot. I forgot that it was Caden. Yes. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah. And Caden Gordon is a I marvel at Caden, and sometimes I don't quite understand how a 20-year-old,
right?
correct, a 20-year-old is doing what he's doing, and he's not even finished with college yet. And he got us together, and wow.
And just, well, exactly. And then Jesse and so just I guess to end off the story is where it is now. Jesse Jesse has signed me to his record label as of Tuesday. So
Great.
I am no longer an independent artist.
It's great. That's great. It's fabulous, and I am so with all due respects to Jesse, I'm an independent author. I've been an independent self-published guy. My two books, my three books now, completely, totally independent. My life and soul is independent. And so you guys should know, for a year and a half, long story, I co-hosted Rock on Radio with Danny Coleman, a music journalist here in New Jersey. Why I co-hosted, I know nothing about music. I mean, I can BS with the best of them, but it was a wonderful gig for me because he's a quintessential independent music guy, bring only independent artists, bands, singer-songwriters, and it was a 3 hour show on Monday night, Sunday nights, and I drove an hour and a half, and I did it, and of course I didn't do it for my musical knowledge. I did it because I can throw in some color commentary there. So
Right?
my heart and soul is with independent people out
So
there.
I do have to say, I fully agree in that sense. And part of the reason why I started the label in the first place was so that artists could maintain
Right.
their independence while having the support of um, other artists and whatnot, and be able to prop themselves up on the business side while maintaining, their integrity and their form of independence that way. And so it really is, we say we're built by artists for artists, and that's as true as it gets, because um, being signed to a label nowadays still has a huge element of DIY that we celebrate and we encourage. And Abby is a perfect example of that DIY culture that, when paired up with the proper support, it just makes such a huge impact on the difference of motion that can happen when things are moving forward. So it really is still, we're small potatoes, and I don't want to say that about ourselves, but really the power that we have as a label really comes from the fact that we're in it together. And that's where the independence part, if you use that as a word in its truest definition, ends. But the real independence of getting to support yourself and move forward is, I don't want to take away from that independence from anybody. And I myself have personally published, put out all the music, everything, all of my own music, everything has always been something that I've had to do myself. And I wanted to be able to offer that help to other people who want to maintain their independence and further their career that way. So I am a firm believer, and no disrespect taken in that sense
Sure.
whatsoever. I encourage it wholeheartedly. And we offer a lot of service-based stuff as well as a label that most labels wouldn't just offer up. You don't have to sign to the label to have that access to stuff. We like to try and be as helpful as possible wherever anybody's at in their journey. So it is really, really cool.
Thank you for saying that because that means a lot. I understand on my perspective the the journey of self-published authors, and it's funny. I joined this group, Bold Authors Network, in January. Totally transformative in my life. Kay Wagner, she's this amazing force. She brings us self-published authors together and lectures us each week and brings in a speaker. The point being, it's all self-published, and and it makes me now think of what you just said, Jesse. In that group, there was a woman, Lana McGarrah, who sold a lot of books in her day, but she started her own publishing company to take on already
Right.
self-published authors, to give them a little bit more energy and weight and
Right.
purpose and distribution
That's
in the
right.
world. And I signed on with her. She's not a traditional publisher, but she's going to do things for me as a self-published guy that I could not do for myself.
And that's exactly the idea. Is we're by no means a traditional label in the sense of it. Our goal is to empower our artists, whether you're signed with us or not, or you just need a service a couple times. Our goal is to legitimately propel what your interests are forward in a way that, you kind of said it, there's a weight to having support. And when you're reaching out to different festivals or different shows and stuff, when you can say that, that you have the support of a label or you have different weight behind you, sometimes it makes a larger impact on that end. And again, I can't stress enough that Abby is legitimately one of the most DIY ambitious people ever. She gets the stuff done. She's always hustling. She's always putting it out there, promoting her music, and that in itself is such a huge portion of what we're able to complement because there's that drive there. There's the a bit ambition to actually forward their career instead of just hoping somebody else is going to do it for you because we can't. And I'll be the first one to admit that, and when we're signing somebody or when we're working with somebody on a record, or if I'm producing a record, and Abby knows this well, the very first part of that journey for me and a new client, whether it's the label or somebody in the studio or I'm doing a business deal, is let's meet up and hang out and have a coffee and see if we even like each other, because I need to know that I have something to offer you rather than just taking your money from you. And so that kind of is what sets the stage for everything that we're doing. And the biggest goal is to be able to add a little bit of that weight to people who might just be able to get that next step if they had it.
Well said. Well said. I'm so glad. When we were off air, I gotta say something to you and Abby when we're off air. So, this has been great. This has been a really special Sunday because I thoroughly enjoyed your music and our meeting, and it's just good stuff. And now, I add Jesse to my little list of connections. So to both of you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Really, and only good things and stuff and miracles in our lives. It's a great
Yes.
way to end. So thank you. Don't leave, guys. I'm just going to stop recording. We'll do a little wrap. But thank you so much for this. You
Thank
did
you,
make my
Calvin.
day. Thank you.
Thank